You are now tuned in to the Sanja Ganja Show, and I am your humbly stoned host for the evening, Sanja Ganja. I have a really dank guest, and I'm so stoked that she's here. We've got Grace, the inventor and the genius behind the Texas CBD blog. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming all the way down from Austin to come see little old me and discussing all this cool stuff. We've been having a really cool conversation, and now we're going to just share it with the world. So let's tell everyone what you're doing. You've got a really cool blog. You write about cool people. You freelance write, and you're extremely smart. Tell everyone what you're doing.
So as Sanja said, so my name is Grace. I run the Texas CBD blog. Kind of how it all started was I wanted to see like something. So there's a lot of creativity happening within the cannabis community, and when I first got, and again, it was like a new industry. So like when I first got on there was just not another demographic like showing all the good cannabis is doing and all the cool invention behind it. Because that's what I'm really interested in. Like I like the entrepreneurs. I like finding behind the scenes, and there is too much good and too much creativity happening within this part of history. Like if we were to go back to Prohibition and talk about how all those things were made, like wouldn't you go back and document that? So that's when I jumped on Instagram, started documenting it, going to events and getting on all the social media and just kind of, I don't know, showcasing it. And that's really where I am, is I'm just connecting those people who love hemp or just like curious about, the cannabis industry within Texas and like around the world, and showing like there's more to it than just people like blowing smoke on photos. Like there's actually a lot of innovation behind stuff, like a lot.
True fact. That is a true fact. There's
nothing wrong with that. That's just the fun part.
Absolutely. Well, and I love that you're doing that, because there are a lot of people who are afraid to step into a CBD dispensary or even look it up. So at least they can do it in the privacy in their home, learn about it, and read it from someone who's cool and in the know. You literally are all over the place all the time. I mean, you're going to Denver like what, next week?
Yeah, I am.
Get it, girl. That's what I'm talking about. And so tell us, how old is the Texas CBD blog?
So I actually started back in April of this past year. So it's not that old, but I've been blogging forever. Like I've been blogging since Zanga days. Yeah. So way back in like 2003, like learning social media and like figuring out how it works with audiences and what they like and all of that good stuff. Like, and again, like where to find people, like, and where to find communities has always been like my thing.
Absolutely.
So being able to apply that to the cannabis community and kind of like going to my consumers and being like, this is what it is. And as simple as like liking a photo or commenting like, hey, you look swole in that photo, like something dumb, but it works. And then people are getting exposed to it and realizing, oh, I can add cannabis to my workout, or I can add cannabis over here to my, I don't know, my 6-year-old niece who needs it. Like the gamut is like unlimited. So
who would have thunk?
Yeah,
who would have thunk?
For real.
Well, and that, so tell me, I am so curious, because I only have met you over this last month, which thank you, because you've been a wonderful little godsend. But now I'm starting to learn about what you do. And what are some of the most interesting blogs you've ever wrote about for CBD?
Well, it's interesting. So I think to answer this question first off, to preface it, there's a lot of things that I haven't written that are really interesting.
Ooh, okay.
Like there's a lot of stuff that's happening in the cannabis community that's just not that's not written out, because there's so much, it's changing so rapidly. Yeah. And like 10 days is like 6 months in the cannabis industry.
Absolutely remember that.
Like it's no joke. It's happened so quickly. Yeah. But I think one of my first blogs was the most interesting is I went to this place and it's these like gun carrying guys. Like they all are strapped the whole entire time, but that's just because like that's just who they are. They're like, yeah, we like weed, but we also like carrying our guns. And I was this is Texas. All right, let's go. Great start. So I think that was the most interesting thing, and seeing how like they did stuff with like the law enforcement and like how they were really like reaching out that way. So, and seeing other companies where that's their passion, it really gave me hope and started inspiring like, hey, other people behind the cannabis, they actually do want to change now within their niche and whatever their community, what they're passionate about. And that's where it started getting that rolling. And then that's where I'm starting to like, those are the things that inspire me. And like when I see people and see something of substance behind them, like not judging, but like, like I there's the things that I like, because I'm like, other people are going to see that too. And that's what's going to draw them. And now let's talk about cannabis.
And that's what it's about.
So, yeah.
That's exactly what it's about. I'll tell you what, in Colorado, you could not carry and have your medical license or your badge So for the longest, I haven't been able to have a gun. But now that I live in Texas, I'm like so stoked.
We'll see though, because like at the normal meeting, so I
Yeah.
was at the normal meeting 2 months ago. That's like a hot topic right now. Like what? Because you can't be within like in Texas, you can't if you have like an open like little mini bottle in the back of your car and you have your open carry, you will get you'll lose your gun license. But now what are you gonna do for cannabis? So like these are the conversations that are happening right now. So it's like that's so interesting about Texas and like where these like liberal agendas, but also these conservative because Texas is known for being that. So I don't know, that's fun. Like it's like let's give
it is fun. It's fun to see where it's gonna melt in the end.
Yeah.
Because right now the river is just flowing and it could go any way. Honestly,
It really could.
So I mean, I hope that we don't get restricted to a point because there obviously should be restrictions for sure. Because if you are going to be impaired, we should all be responsible adults, be productive potheads. But with that being said, that doesn't give you the right to tell me I can't own a gun in my house, you know, to protect my family.
I know.
So,
I have 3, so like
hey, I have 2 tattooed on my stomach. That's it. So let's talk about you and how you medicate and you use CBD and THC. When did you first start using either or, whatever you prefer?
So when I first started using THC was a lot of people's experience, like back in high school. So I just, and back in high school and like at work and like, it was kind of like if you hung out with the stoner kids, it's like, oh, I didn't want to lose brain cells. And like with my group, like everyone was like, oh, like don't hang out with them. But I'm like, but
don't
I
hang
like
out with
it.
Sanja Ganja.
Yeah, but I like it. But like, you know, you kind of like went on with that narrative. And so as I got older, like I would periodically use it at parties and, you know, enjoyed it. But it wasn't until I started consistently going to Colorado back in like 2015 and started like kind of seeing like what's happening. And then I really wanted to get into the industry. Like I even like back in 2009, like I was applying for schools in Colorado to actually go to Boulder University because they had a really great communication program. So like I really wanted to that was my goal, but stuff happened. It ended up not happening. But like, so I kind of feel like my life has always kind of led me, like it was going to happen eventually. So when I started in 2015, started going, you know, consistent trips to Colorado, going to dispensaries, getting to know the thing, and I started learning CBD within lotions, and I kind of thought it was a scam at first. I was like, "What the heck is this, dude?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's not like it's not happening," because it was all salves, and I didn't like salves, and like but I didn't know. I wasn't educated. But then I started going back, and it wasn't until everything had happened in 2018 when the Farm Bill passed. I went to my first CBD store, and I remember going in there, and I was like, "It's happened. It's here. I'm gonna be in it. I don't know how it is, but it was like this thing in my soul.
Yeah.
Like I've never felt so drawn to something before, and like through that discovery of using CBD, I've like a lot of things about me have come out, like where I've like learned more about myself and like more have accepted it. And through that, like even with like communications, like I have a bachelor's in communications, but I was ashamed to use that as my degree. But then now here I am starting a blog, having a platform and actually using it because it's like, oh, this is something I've actually liked the whole time. Like you can build things off of it. So it's kind of like rejecting that narrative and CBD. So that, again, that's kind of like, you know, what brought you know, to light for me. And I was like, oh, okay, like this is cool. Like I don't ever want somebody else to ever have to go through what I did, especially if you're younger. Even when you're older, I don't care if you're 50 and you're trying to figure it out, but like, especially when you're younger too, like giving that model, like this is how you can do it. I understand the pressures of society and American culture.
Absolutely.
But it's also, you can also do these things too. So being that model and like having that voice that it's okay, like, that's where I don't know, kind of all started. And I was like, I can't stay quiet. I got to shut the world.
No, I love that. I love that because I always love hearing people's, you know, everyone always says that you have a coming to Jesus.
Yeah,
know?
that's true.
And it's like a coming to the plant, you know, you just have that calling in you. And it's the same thing. I mean, I've been in weed since I was 18 and I'm about to be 30. So my entire adult business life has been only weed, which is why sometimes people probably don't take me as serious on my resume. But I can relate to that for sure because the passion that you have clearly shows in all the work that you do. And the fact that you support one another, which is really important, I think, for the viewers to understand that we have to support each other in order to get to the next level. And, you know, if I'm going to make it, all my friends are going to make it. If, you know, we're all going to get a deal, you're going to get a deal because, damn it, you helped me get to this point in some way or another. Yeah. And so why should we leave any stoner behind? You know, we should all be working together for sure.
Exactly.
I love that. I love that.
And especially within Texas, like it's kind of like off, you know, the narrative right now, but like I've noticed with the blog, there's a lot of people who left Texas. Yeah. And that's what makes me kind of sad to think that like there was a lot of talent here we could have cultivated within like our business models. And there's nothing wrong with like, you know, it's just like Texas likes Texas, whatever. I'm glad they went out for like, you know, additional education. However, it's now getting them back, but now are they going to come back? You know, now what are they having to like kind of, you know, see and kind of have to go through. So I kind of want to make a safe space for them too. It's like, you can come back, like, well, like, let's get everybody in the right spot, you know?
You know, I didn't think about that. So you bring up a good point. Yeah, everyone has bounced and gone elsewhere. And I'm the opposite. I've just been living in Denver for the last 11 years, and I come to Texas. All my friends are like, what the heck is going on? So yeah, totally understand that for sure. What do you have right here that you're smoking on?
So my favorite method of consumption is I like joints. I like using oils. I use oils consistently, like in the mornings. It's part of my wellness routine. And I like using bath bombs. But whenever I'm like consuming on the go, my favorite is using the packs because it's so handy dandy. And what I'm smoking right now is actually from Texas Tonic, and it's Bubba Kush, so it's like a high CBD.
One of my
so
favorite
so it smells like super, you know, it smelled really good. So I felt like, you know, bringing it on the show would be a nice way to, you know, ease my anxiety through this whole entire thing. Because if not, I'll be literally like in the corner, like not wanting to talk to anyone.
You're skimming through. Don't worry. You're sliding on through.
Best way to go through anything.
So it's funny you have a PAX because I smoked a PAX. Oh my gosh. Like, I don't want to say the wrong year because you know how that goes. But like when they were in their trial period and I was smoking with a famous golf player, which I'm not allowed to say who it was. And he was the one who showed it to me. But it was like the huge, remember the first version? It was like literally like an old cell phone. And he was like, here, Sanja, try this. And I'm like, what the, you know, I had no idea what I was doing. And the first version made the weed feel very burnt. It felt just, all the taste was just gone. But they have elevated their brand completely in every way. And now, and even that has like a flat surface.
Yeah, that's what I like about it. You can change these out, but I prefer the flat surface because it's like easier to like push down on. I don't know, it's convenient. It's
so where do you put your mouth?
It's like right there. Like there's a little hole.
Oh wow!
You can, like sip it like tea.
It's literally a little crevice.
Yeah. Do you want to try it?
It's like tea. You're sipping on. Okay.
Yeah, it's like literally like sipping on tea.
And I'm just inhaling.
Yeah,
right?
just inhaling. It's
okay.
It's ready to go.
I'm sipping the tea, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. That's
squeaky.
as easy as it is. I don't know if you got like a
it
good
great.
hit, but like
it tastes great. Honestly, I like to try all the different, you know, forms of vape pens only because I used to be an expert when I would sell them at the dispensaries. And now there's just so much that it's hard to keep up. I mean, unless that's all you do is research it.
Oh my God, I know. It's just like, yeah, there's so many options available. And even with here, they have like the Era, and then it just explodes. So who knows?
Well, and so you were saying you like bath bombs.
Yeah.
And so you actually use bath bombs. Do you feel that they actually like make a difference?
I feel like they do because I feel luxurious when I use them.
Well said.
For sure.
Well
like,
said.
and so I think all of the bath bombs that I choose and I use are high quality. So if I recommend them, they're good.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't know, I'm not really a bath person, but that's just what it is. But it, you know, if it's nice to your skin, I feel soft and happy afterwards. So I think that's what I really like. I enjoy the experience, but I'm sure the CBD works too.
I'm too ADD to like actually use a full bath bomb. I mean, I still do for sure all the time. My fiance buys them, but I just want to play with it like the whole time. I'm like, ooh, you know. And she's like, "Can you just stop, please? Can you just stop?" You know what I mean? Oh my gosh, it's hilarious.
Oh my gosh, she's like, "Leave it alone."
So, all right. So you use CBD products. You use THC. Now you write about a lot of these people. You write about brands. You are literally the voice to the people. So, you know, I want to know more about some of the people you've worked with. And, you know, has there ever been a brand or a product or a store, I don't know, anyone that has actually touched your life and impacted you as far as a product or a brand?
So, great question. So, everybody who I like definitely feature on my blog and I talk about, there's always something about them. Like, I just instantly know. I don't know what it is in my brain or if it's just like my skill set with people, but I'm just like really good at like figuring out like who I like. I want to connect with you instantly. But so before I moved to Austin, there was this brand that was sponsoring another brand. They're now called St. May in San Antonio. But I found them through, I found them through Instagram. And they're called Shop Mary J, and a lot of people know who Mary J's is. So I ended up following them on Instagram, following their whole story, and it was kind of like when I was still figuring out the blog thing. Like I knew what I wanted, but like, and Jay is gonna be like right now, I've told her this, but like really when it was June 1st, so it was when she did like it was Pride Month, and she talked about how like she had like a house for like kids who are like coming out in Austin, and like all of like, and once I saw those photos on Instagram, my heart broke in like a bazillion different ways, because I mean, accepting that communication was something that I wanted to do was hard for me. Like, it's going against a lot of the things I had, like these old ideologies I had in my mind. So when I saw that and like really saw like the passion and like what she was doing with that, and how she was using the proceeds from her shop and how she was putting it to something good, she was putting her money where her mouth was. I was like, how does this not want to, like, how do you not freaking talk about this? Beautiful. Like it's exactly what the movement is about, especially within Texas, and how we have a conservative narrative, and how the propaganda within cannabis, which is marijuana, even spelled wrong legally, but it's like how all that started here, and then how like and I thought like, okay, if Texas is going to do this, like if we're going to go within we're going to do it right. Not only do we have like people like the Last Prisoner Project, not like doing that, like making sure we destigmatize it within like the Hispanic community, but especially within California. Now let's go back to 1996. Now let's go back to the reason why this started. And so when I saw that, it was just like, this is exactly what we need to do. And I want to make sure that like all these voices are represented within my writing, because that's how it should be. Because this is how it should be written. And it's like, it's the truth, and some parts of it are ugly, but if we're going to have these different conglomerates coming in within Texas, and that's fine, whatever, money, etc. Like I don't care. It is what it is. Right. I really don't care about that. But let's just make sure some things are taken care of first. Like, beautiful. And like, again, you can't rewrite history, and I'm not even saying to deny it. Right. Like, it has to be, taught, because I know the future entrepreneurs coming to the business, like, let's set the standard, like making sure this is right, because even if this gets overrun by corporates or etc., people are going to eventually dig back down and find it again. Always. And that's really what I care about. Yeah. Especially when I write. And that's why when I look for people who have like a special heart within the cannabis community, whatever it looks like, that's why I want to talk about it. Like, like, again, it's like something that I just know. And even if they don't even know or they don't see it, like, I know. And so I'm like, let's talk about you.
Did we just become best friends? Because I'm like watery-eyed right now. It's hard. It's lovely when you find someone who's equally as passionate about the plant, as you are. And I love seeing people that are doing really good things in the community, but especially for one another. And the biggest lesson that I think a lot of business owners, people who are established in cannabis, should remember is that you never stop learning. And so people like you are the people that I reference and go to when I need to do my research, because yes, I've been in the industry for 11 years. You would think I know everything. I know a lot. Definitely. People pay me for that information, but I don't know everything, and neither do you, and neither does you, or you. Everyone needs to remember that, like you were saying earlier, 6 hours is 6 months in the cannabis industry, for sure. Yep. So, I think a really good reminder is to remember to always be doing your research. Look up people like you who are writing about these people, because you're the reason why these people are going to be remembered in history. And, for me, it's very emotional, because being in the cannabis industry from 2008 to now, you watched thousands of people fall off, hundreds of people lose their homes, their dispensaries, mom and pop shops that don't exist. And it was a sad thing to watch. And I don't want that to happen here in Texas. I don't want that to happen in one more state. It doesn't matter where we are, you know?
Yeah.
And it's only if we work on this and talk about these things, which is why I wanted to have the show. And so I really appreciate everything that you're working on, for sure. So I'm a movie guru. You love movies. This is something we have based on, you know, in common.
Yeah.
I love to get high and just watch anything and everything on YouTube, but movies especially. Like, for example, Mystery Science Theater 3000, my favorite. Hands down. I've always wanted to do like the cannabis version where we're just smoking, it's just constant smoke and we're just being goofy. But what is your favorite movie to watch high?
Anything with like big heads and like crazy props. It's just like you so see it, but it's so fake. But like my compassionate soul is like, I appreciate that there are these crazy enough people in the 50s to put this together. I'm like, thank you, people. Like, and that's just like what I look up to. Like that type of innovation. Like, it's just crazy. Let's just do it. And then they did it. And then like, look at all this stuff. We have CGI now.
I know. I'm not gonna lie. I love old movies, but I have to like skim through them and like press play, skim, because I'm just so ADD. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even remember what happened in this, and I just watched it a year ago.
Yeah.
You know, like, what is this?
Exactly. And so like when we were with my friends that one night, we watched, okay, so we were all like on Amazon, we're like scrolling through everything. We saw this movie called Ghost Cat. With Ellen Page. It was like her first movie. I was like, what the heck is Ellen Page doing on this?
That was the first movie I saw of her, and I thought she was creepy.
Yes.
I thought she was so creepy.
I mean, like, I've seen Ellen Page, like, all over. I know, like, Ellen Page, who is now, but, like, seeing, like, her first stuff, I was like, how did you get into this? I'm glad you broke through, but this? And then it was Ghost Cat. I recommend anybody to watch that stuff.
Ghost Cat and Hard Candy, you're like, something's wrong with this girl.
Yeah. You're like, what the hell?
So you were homeschooled growing up.
Yeah, I was.
And you also grew up in a Christian home. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think it's funny looking at the dynamics of who you were then to now, which I don't knock anyone. You know, I believe in God. I go to church all the time. So what would little Gracie say to this, like, badass Grace now?
She'd be so surprised. She'd be like, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Where is my girl at?
Yeah, because, like, well, I think she would also be a little proud, too. Because when I was younger, I always wanted to be, like, a voice actor. And I always wanted to be, like, a bad guy voice actor. Like, when people were fantasized with, like, Disney princesses, I liked the villains. I knew all the bad songs. Like, Gaston was my favorite character. Because I liked how, like, aggressive he was. But he also had, like, the better tempos. He had, like, the more, this compelling narrative that I was like, I need to talk to you. Like, let's get something going. And so, again, like, so, I don't know, this whole, like, whenever the whole Disney princesses things happen, I was like, I mean, I still have my favorites, but it was more of, like, the opposite narrative that, like, I always, and that's, I guess, like, why I feel so, like, comfortable in this space and how it kind of, like, it grew my mind from a very conservative space. Because, like, we were, like, long hair, long skirts, conservative Christian. Like, it was close to culty a little bit. Like, if you were a woman, you stayed at home, the men went to college, but they still didn't want people to go to college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, thankfully, we got out of that. And
I would be screwed in that situation. Completely.
So, yeah. And so, and like, with my siblings, too, and since my siblings range from, like, 45 to 21. He just turned 21 yesterday. So, it's a whole, like, we saw, like, the whole generation gap between, like, how everything, like, kind of put together and how you see the family dynamics come in. But especially when it comes to, like, who I am now, I think she would be, like, proud and happy that she kind of, like, ended up doing the things that she wanted to do. It took longer. I think it makes me, she would probably be sad that it took so long and how things happened and unfolded, because it could have been better. But at the same time, I don't think she would have, like, looking now, I can tell you, like, you're going to become stronger because of that.
Exactly.
And hopefully it just goes from there.
Well, you're a badass. So
are you.
Little Grace, don't you worry, little Grace.
It'll be okay.
I love that. I know, it's so funny because, like, little me had, like, this huge afro, and I'm just like, I did Star Search, I did, like, Off-Broadway, and I knew I wanted to, like, just have a voice. That's all I knew. I didn't know what I wanted because I've done everything, you know, but, you know, it all falls into place once you smoke a joint and think about it. That's what I think.
I think that's all we all need, like just to think about your actions really quickly.
Yeah.
And like again, that retrospect that it kind of gives you, or like that outside perspective that you're able to get. And it's just, people don't realize that, like that's what it brings, and that's where the medication comes from. And that's why like I truly do believe it's a way to, it's not to, like I don't ever want to abuse the plant, and it makes me sad to think that it's just THC versus CBD. And I'm like, actually no, like look at the cannabinoids, like look at all the stuff you can break through. And then even with that is like a whole thing, like if you just think about it between THC and CBD, like that's such like a narrow way to look at it, because a plant, especially since it's a female plant, which is, I'm glad like we're us females doing this as well, like no offense to guys or whatever, but the plant meets you where you're at. The plant helps elevate you where you're at. And that's kind of like how a woman thinks and how a woman gets into it. Because
100%.
when the plant was studied, when it was originally like kind of banned or kind of like put together, it was when women weren't allowed to go to school. So women were kept away from that. So there was kind of kept with this linear thinking, which is kind of why I kind of think we have like CBD and THC. So because of this, we're now able to bring all this into fruition. That's why a lot of holistic health comes in more, because back then if you were, just because you were able like to put something together to help your family, all of a sudden you're a witch. I mean, like people like there's still like stuff out there, but it was like the wrong sort of labeling. And I can understand people who were so scientific and smart, and they knew they were breaking through, and why that passion would have come through, and why they were willing to die for it, especially. But again, there's a lot of that's a complicated subject, but it's very
true.
Yeah,
very true. I honestly thought I would grow up to become a martyr. I was like, the government's gonna kill me. I'm never gonna shut up. You know, it's never gonna happen. I mean, I have suffered from lupus since I was a young girl, and if it wasn't for weed, you know, I would be, I don't know where I'd be right now. I don't know if I'd be alive. I had a stroke when I was in my 20s, and my whole left side just went cuckoo crazy, you know, and I just ate flowers, CBD, and smoked weed, and gave up meat. And that helped. So honestly, I can totally understand how it's been infiltrated, and how we just need to educate the world, educate the masses on what's going on here. And the fact that, you know, it's a female plant, you know, I always try to tell people the difference. You know, there's male, there's female. You know, one produces more THC than the other, but it's still the same plant on the periodic table. And that's what everyone needs to understand.
Yeah, and then that comes down to science, and then that's why education is so important, and then that's where we come into play. Like, you know, you having people like me who are like you know, talking about that, and you know, any future guests that you might have, like it's all a part of the process of it. Like, just like, you know, it's okay, like it's a plant, guys. It's actually, and there's a lot of medical properties to it. So
Viva la plant.
Viva la plant.
I love it. So, all right, all that serious talk has now got me wanting to play a game. Okay. So, are you ready? Can you hand me the little pink paper here? All right. What is your strain name? All right, so this is like my favorite game ever. I got this out of the Potlander, oh my gosh, like 2 years ago. And so I did a huge work project in Portland. We did like the biggest greenhouse operation out there. It was great, whatever. Portland's wonderful. Hey guys. So this is a really fun game. What is your strain name? It's your first initial, your last initial, and your birth month. I can never memorize mine, so I'm just going to tell you all over again. So I am Sour. Oh my gosh. Sour, and I'm changing my last name. So Sour Dog Reserve. Sour Dog Reserve, which is very appropriate because Sour Diesel is one of my favorite strains, and ChemDoc 4, which is an indica, don't get it twisted, is my favorite strain. So how about you? Okay. Let's see what you got. Let's see. So you're May.
Yes.
And you are G.
D. So I'm, yes. So I'm Pineapple. Obama.
Ooh.
Pineapple and Reserve.
Pineapple Obama Reserve?
I know.
We're like related.
Right?
Oh my God.
How did that happen?
What strains do you like? Indica, sativa?
I really prefer indicas. I mean, well, it kind of depends on my mood. Like a lot of people, it just depends on, you know, if I'm going out. Like I was in San Francisco the other day, or a few months ago, and I just picked up a sativa, and I microdosed all day, and then just like enjoyed everything San Francisco. But then when I got home, I come down with an indica, and like that's what I kind of prefer. Yeah. Because then like my brain, because I don't know, I feel like my brain is already going like 50 miles an hour, and I think, I don't know, it's just weird how like my brain just like, I'm not ADD, I don't know, I might be ADD, but like it feels like it just thinks about so many things at the same time.
Yeah.
So as long as my body, because you know I do have anxiety, and since anxiety is a physical response, I feel like it helps counter it, and so it relaxes my body, and like, and actually it's interesting where growing up, we grew up again really Christian, and then when I was in high school, we went to like a, what is it called? Like a fire and brimstone church. Is that what I went to?
Okay.
I'm not going to name which one, but so when it comes to like the demonology behind like, you know, stuff, like you would go to those, I forgot what they're called, but anyway, it's not important. So like, you know, you would feel like a demon's possessing you.
Yeah.
Well, like for me, whenever I get like really passionate, or like when I'm like in certain moments, like my body like literally shakes, like I can't control it.
Totally.
Like my anxiety is just like through the roof, because like, again, there's so many things going on through my brain, and like I want to say, again, a lot of stuff is happening. So I always thought when I was younger that like there was a demon inside of me. So
Well, praise Jesus. It's just the weed. We're good.
It's just the weed, so they fixed me, so I'm good. So that's
good.
that's really what it comes down to.
All right, Grace, you have been more than wonderful on this show. So tell me, how can the viewers find you? How can they read your blogs? How can they follow you right now?
So you can find me right now through Instagram. So I'm at the Texas CBD blog. You can follow my work. You can go to my website. I publish all my blogs there, but then I release it on Twitter. Like all social media, parts of social media. And then even if you want to follow me on LinkedIn, I do all the dirty stuff there too. So it's just like, and then that's where you get, if you're in the industry, I like to repost and follow industry knowledge. So, but if you're like more on the fun, like not recreational, but you don't care about all that other stuff, just go to my Instagram, all my socials. You'll see lots of stuff fun there plugged in. I talk about all the cool things I follow. I go all around Texas. I'm in California, Denver, or Colorado. I'm everywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere that like will accept me, I'm there.
You gotta follow, and LinkedIn is like the new thing. So for sure. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And sharing your sexy little packs with me. And I appreciate all you do. And I just gotta say, keep doing what you're doing for the world, for the women, for the men, for everyone. All the stoners alike. So on that, we're gonna end the show on a very high note. So don't forget, when you smoke herb, it reveals the true you to yourself. Think about that over a joint. All right, guys, this has been the Sanja Ganja Show. Remember to smoke your weed, eat your vegetables, have sex, pray, medicate, meditate, and be a good person, for goodness sakes. Until next time, stay high, America. Perfect.
Yay! We did it!